Greetings, Karen Clay here. Thanks for watching another Feldenkrais lesson for you. A part of the Start Here series, this is a lesson on breath called global breathing. So breathing is the precursor to life. Breathing is the first movement. Any kind of respiratory rhythm, which is about flexion and extension, about opening and closing, about ebbing and flowing, all of those movements are preceded by breath. So let's take a look here as we're going to learn about the diaphragm. So here's the diaphragm outside the body, and then where it's situated inside the base of the rib cage. So the bottom of the diaphragm, if you think of that like the hem of a skirt, the hem of the skirt goes all the way around the very bottom of the rib cage, and it creates a seal so that the abdominal contents and the contents of the lung cavity are separated by the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is the ceiling of the belly, and it's the floor of the lung cavity, and the heart sits right there. So right there. Now, how does the diaphragm work? When the diaphragm is at rest, you are in an exhale, which means that it's relaxed up inside of the diaphragmatic space. And that causes your breath to be expelled through your mouth. When you breathe in, the tendon of the diaphragm shortens and pulls. You can see how much lower down this is. Pulls the diaphragm downward, which draws the breath inward, and we fill with air. Then again, we relax and the diaphragm moves back upward into the cavity and the breath is expelled. So it's a little bit like one of those old-fashioned ice cream pops. And in this case, the cylinder would be the rib cage and the torso, and the breath, the diaphragm is moving up and down inside the case of the rib cage. So up and down inside here, the breath is moving. So let's begin the lesson now. Come and lie on your back, please. Get yourself situated and comfortable. Make sure you have enough padding, that you're warm enough. This is a very quiet lesson. And stretch yourself out onto your back. Bring your hands on your belly. And without doing anything, without trying to do something special or improve anything, just feel the movement of your breath under your hands. It may be very faint, it may be not at all, or you might feel a little tiny movement up in the heels of your hands nearer your rib cage, or you might feel some part of your belly moving ever so quietly. So start to listen more carefully. Really listen in to the rhythm of your breath, and to notice whether your belly expands forward, which in this case is towards the ceiling. And then sense whether your breath is expanding backwards into your lower back towards the floor. And what about the sides of the waist? And what about the ribs themselves? Are they breathing? Are they moving as a result of the breath? Is the breastbone moving as a result of the breath? The collarbones? Now bend and stand your legs, and let's recall the first lesson in this series, the pelvic clock. That's where we're pulling our heels towards our butt so that our lower back arches, pushing our heels away from our butt so that our lower back flattens. So that is going to be a pattern that we're going to add some breath on top of. So would you please inhale as you arch your back to 6 o'clock by drawing your heels towards your pelvis. Your feet don't actually slide, then push your feet away and flatten your low back as you exhale. Your feet don't actually move on the floor, but they are pulling and pushing against the traction of the carpet. You're inhaling as you arch your back and move your pelvis down to 6 o'clock. You're exhaling and softening and letting your belly fall as you exhale. So without trying to improve anything, without trying to make it bigger or better, or to search for some limitation, just simply be with what is and don't fix anything. Don't improve anything. Don't speed anything up. Don't try to do more. Don't fire off a bunch of repetitions. Just let the breath start to slow you down as you breathe into your belly and let the surface of your belly fall. So you're actually starting to feel the breath move down. You're pushing your belly outward slightly as you move to 6 o'clock, and then softening the belly as you exhale so that it falls back into the cavity of your torso. So you're distending your belly, moving the breath down into the bottom of your pelvis as you arch your back, letting the belly fall backwards into the spine as you exhale and release the breath, and flatten your lower back by thinking of pushing your feet away from your pelvis. Continue many repetitions of this as I talk over you, noticing whether or not your head can rock. Not because it's making a movement on its own, but because the rocking of the pelvis is going to cause the head to rock. So bring your hands on your rib cage now. And notice that when you breathe in and you extend your belly, your ribs pull in slightly. When you relax your belly, your ribs can flare a little or open a little, expand a little. Feel how your back is touching the floor through the mid part of your back. So breathe in, the rib cage gets small and the belly gets big. Breathe out, the rib cage gets big and the belly gets small. So you're changing the size of the circumferences. Circumference of the belly gets big as you breathe in and arch your back. Circumference of the rib cage gets big, meaning the ribs open and widen like an accordion as you exhale and press your lower back into the floor. So now please slow it down. So what may be counterintuitive for you is that you breathe into the belly and the belly pooches, you arch to 6 o'clock. When you exhale, there's not any air that's flaring your rib cage, but you're using the accessory muscles to breathing that open the rib cage like an accordion, widening and lengthening. You're using those accessory muscles to expand the rib cage. You're using your breath on your inhale to expand your belly. You're using the accessory muscles to flare your ribs on the exhale. So you're really flattening the middle of the back into the floor when you exhale. And begin to soften it and to lighten it, to make it go a little lighter, a little softer. And now the only thing we're going to, well, let's take a rest. Notice if there's anything different about how you rest against the floor. And draw your legs up again this time. We're going to do everything exactly the same, except we're going to hold the breath. Breathe into your belly, arch your back, hold your breath. Flatten your belly, lift your ribs, breath is held. Move the air back down into the belly as you arch your back. Move the balloon or the ice cream pump. So you're moving up and down with that ice cream inside the cylinder, filling the bottom half, filling the top half. You're doing it while your breath is held. So let me give you a demonstration. I breathe in. And then exhale. So this lesson should actually take, let's just lengthen the legs again and notice your breathing. Put your hands on your belly. And notice what's different about the volume of your breath, about the speed of your breath, about the tissues that you feel moving as a result of the breath. Whether the front of the ribs are moving, whether the sides of the ribs are moving, whether the back of the ribs are moving. And just stay there for a moment and enjoy the feeling. And when you're ready, you can roll to your side and sit up. This lesson should actually take quite a bit longer, but because of the limitations of this form, I try to keep these recordings on the short side. So do pause your phone and spend some time with the early part of the lesson and the middle part of the lesson and the end part of the lesson so that you can get a truer result. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe.